deeply humbled and grateful for the strong, positive reception from around the world to the statement I made at the World Leaders on Tuesday. This led to excerpts being widely quoted around the world and requests for a number of interviews by major media outlets, especially those in the UK, to which I consented to at least 3. Of all the statements and the commentary made on the day, I was especially flattered that the global media heavyweight Bloomberg used an extract from my speech as a quote of the day. But those accolades are not mine. They are for you, the Bahamian people, whose voice now rings loudly on the international stage. This is how you gain friends and extend influence. We expect that the opportunities coming out of this trip will be amplified for many years to come. We have learned a lot and must now use all that we have gained to inform and improve all that we are doing to bring about the new day for the Bahamian people. Finally, I wish to thank colleagues at the Ministry of Environment for their technical support before and during the trip, as well as the Minister of State, Basil McIntosh, in the ministry, and my Parliamentary Secretary, Leon Lundy, who attended the COP26 with me. My thanks also go to the High Commissioner Greenslade in London and his Vice Consul, who worked tirelessly and hard for these past few weeks and during our stay to facilitate so much for us. Thanks also to the members of the media who attended. We are extremely grateful for all your efforts in keeping the Bahamian people informed about this monumental global event. And finally, my thanks to the Deputy Prime Minister and all members of government who have kept the ship of state running while we have been away. Although I've been kept abreast of all that has been taking place, I look forward to getting back to work. Thanks again for attending today, and I will now take a few questions.
Kyle Morgan, Mr. Davis, leading up to COP26 and even there have been protesters there who were present, and world leaders have expressed concern that perhaps this could be another meeting attended by world leaders and nothing comes out of it. How are you feeling leaving COP26? Were any agreements reached?
The technical groupings are taking from statements made to come up with a document to identify the outcomes of the meeting. So that's an ongoing process as I speak. But I can say the cynicism being expressed by the protesters has merit. As I mentioned and continue to mention in my interviews in London, this is the 26th COP meeting. So there were, how many more? 25 prior to that. But yet still, in the last year or two, we had the most wildfires recorded in history. Flooding, droughts, and mudslides are increasing as opposed to being lessened. Hurricanes are more intense and stronger. So what it is have they been doing over the last 26 years? That was the message I was attempting to send as well. The time for action is real, and that action is not tomorrow. That's needed today. As I indicated to them, our yesterday is their today, and it's like it is all of our tomorrow if nothing is done now. So I think the message from the Bahamas was well received and accepted and followed, I guess, and was expressive of what protesters were saying at the conference. And I'm an optimist, so we hope that the words spoken will not be just words. And I indicated, I can't remember which one of the leaders I was talking to, it might have been Prime Minister Johnson. I said, look, you know, COP26 and the other COPs prior today, we've become just like NATO. No action, talk only.
Prime Minister Davis, welcome back. Firstly, the one thing on here from Eyewitness News.
Thank you.
Like you said, the time for action is now. What are some of the things that your government is looking to do at the local level to fight against climate change?
Well, first of all, we need to be able to adapt and mitigate against it. We have to, one of my priorities now, which I also brought in my conversations in the bilaterals I was having, is the fact that our country, the Bahamas, an ocean state, is a carbon sink and perhaps absorb more carbon in the world than most other countries because of the vastness of our ocean and seagrass and mangroves, right? But and for that we need to get something for it. We have to monetize what that is worth and ensure that becomes a revenue stream for us. So those are being now worked out by the technical team as to how we can do that. We have to assess its worth, assess, for example, the extent of the seagrass. We lost some mangroves following Hurricane Dorian, how we reseed and regenerate the mangroves that we have, because there's that challenge now because of Dorian. A lot of the seedlings that usually drop from the mangroves are no longer there because they've been washed away. So there are a number of steps we'll be taking from the environmental point of view. Minister McIntosh was in several discussions as to how that's going to be done. And then more importantly, we need to sensitize the funding mechanisms from COP to what I call the blue carbons, which they have not been paying much attention to, but which we highlighted along with the Commonwealth Secretariat, Secretary General Mrs. Baroness Scotland, who he said, look, because we are ocean states, their efforts have been more terrestrial, the terrestrial carbon as opposed to the blue carbon. We are concerned about the blue carbon. They're not there yet, but we think following this meeting, that will become a priority, and that's a priority for us to pursue. We have to build resiliently, and that is so going forward, our infrastructure has to take into account the consequences and impact of climate change. So we have to build to mitigate and build to adapt. And they will be our priorities.
I'm sorry, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm wondering if you can expound on any strategy that the Caribbean may be forging going forward. There was, of course, that photo of Prime Minister Motley hand in hand with President Biden. I'm just wondering as well which countries' bodies may seem most invested in working with the Caribbean, especially when you make references to the refugee status that some persons may be bringing if things continue the way they've been going.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, that we have to be proud that our voice was heard, and we pointed out what the challenges will likely be. Like I said, for us and most of countries like ourselves in the Caribbean, if we are lucky, we'll become refugees. That means some country might take us. If we are lucky, the consequences of Dorian will be upon us. How many more lives we'd lose, and we'd probably be wiped out as a nation. Insofar as nations and their priorities, part of the challenge I sense, and which I explored with the Daily Mail when we had an interview, is not about what has happened. Is sometimes we think it's political will. But I think I raised a new issue. I think it's more political change. Because as government changes, the priorities of government changes. And not all administrations are as sensitive or in tune to the consequences of climate change. So, for example, as I said to President Biden, they're just now re-engaging. And there's still some skepticism about the engagement, because yes, he and his team, and not all in the Democratic Party, are as gung-ho as he is in what he would like to see an attempt to get done in respect to not only assisting the world, but also in his own country, where wildfires and torrential rain and flooding is becoming an issue. But not everyone is buying into it. So even at world leaders, we are discussing, well, look, this is you, President Biden. What about one or two of your progressive Democrats or the more conservative Democrats, when their voice is more influential than yours? And so that is the challenge that the Americans are having. But we do know that they have re-engaged, and there's no doubt that President Biden is clearly committed to getting something done and doing something. And so that I'm satisfied of. The question is, how does he get it over across the finishing line? We hope that he does. Insofar as other world leaders are concerned, as I indicated, yes, they have recommitted, as they have done over the many other meetings. Let's hope this time that commitment will not just stay with them, but they have to find a mechanism where the response to adaptation and mitigation are not just purely what the political agenda might be, but this is a global agenda that has to be embraced by all, and not just some.
We'll take two more questions.
With the Bahamas' role, and I guess it's forward movement in the climate change fight, did the country's relations in oil drilling come up in these bilateral conversations? And what is the government's, I guess, decision moving forward as it navigates, leases that have already been given for oil drilling in this country?
Well, as far as I'm aware, there are no extant oil drilling leases going forward. The question of oil drilling did come up. There is an understanding that the elimination of fossil fuel completely may be a pipe dream and or nothing that we'll see in our lifetime, but it's something that we all will be moving towards. So you'll hear them talking about alternative energy, but they don't ever talk about what they call the net zero, which is now a new term they're now adopting to see where a country will get to net zero, meaning eliminating fossil fuel altogether. But no one is talking about it now. Can't be done now. They see that 20, 30, 50 years in the future. And so for us, we are reviewing the situation. And we are moving towards monetizing our carbon credits, so that at the end of the day, that if we need new revenue streams of revenues to provide the services that our people need, and I could get it from the monetization of my carbon credits, there's no need for me to look at drilling.
One final question. Yeah, the question was posed to Mr. McIntosh in one of the conferences. But can you definitively say what the Davis administration position is on oil drilling?
And you say definitively, what do you mean? I mean, I said... Are
you for it, supported, against it?
No, well, see, first of all, to say whether I support it or not, we have to understand what you mean when you say oil drilling, all right? There are two aspects to oil drilling. Are you talking about the exploitation after the drilling, or are you just talking about drilling to see whether it's there?
Well, both in this regard.
Well, in this regard, I am not in any definitive position now to say, but as I speak, having come from the COP conference and having had conversations with world leaders, having had conversations with technical people, I am minded not to allow oil drilling or oil export, and for certain at this time, I'm not prepared to move to oil exploitation, because you could drill, cap, and monetize. You could drill and exploit. Exploitation is something that I'm not. With the world going the way it is, I will be going with the world.
All right, thank you.
Colleagues, thank you very much.
You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
We're talking animals. Who's it starting?
Hurry, we're missing it.
We're talking animals. Hey, homies, give us a yell. 'Cause we've got stories to tell.
Walruses!
When we think of aquatic mammals, we think of majestic, athletic, cute and clever creatures. Until we meet the walrus.
I am the walrus. Hang on. What did you say?
They can weigh as much as 1,700 kilograms. It's no surprise that they are rather slow movers.
Nearly there. Nearly there. Nearly there. Oh.
But walruses are surprisingly buoyant and spend 2/3 of their lives in the water, swimming at an average speed of 7 kilometers per hour.
Wait for me!
Okay. How much can a walrus weigh? A, 7 kilograms. B, 170 kilograms. Or C, 1,700 kilograms. Hurry up, homies. And it's C, 1,700 kilograms. That's a whole lot of walrus.
Walruses are found in the Arctic, a home they share with polar bears and bearded seals.
Excuse me, you there. Can I order a drink?
They have bodies that are full of fat, known as blubber. Their blubber acts like a warm blanket, protecting them from the freezing Arctic waters.
We'd better find some supper soon, Beryl. We don't want to catch a chill.
But the most distinguishing feature of a walrus is its long, white tusks that can grow up to 100 centimeters long.
Ready for a question? The layer of fat under a walrus's skin is called A, flubber, B, blubber, or C, flab. Chill out, guys. The answer is B, blubber. Now that's a fact.
Their long, bristly whiskers are very sensitive and help them to search for food. Walruses can eat 45 kilograms of fish per day. That's a whopping 10,000 clams.
1, 2,
$99. Oh, that's enough for today.
While they may not be as cute, they are just as clever as their seal relatives and are capable of being trained.
Can we show them now? Can we? No, check this out. Thanks for coming, guys. I'll be here all week. Try the fish.
Woohoo! Yeah, you go, buddy! Walruses use their whiskers to search for food. True or false? I feel you know this. It's true! Woohoo! Yeah! It's true! African wild dogs!
As well as their official name, these inhabitants of southern and eastern Africa have been dubbed painted dogs for fairly obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah? What is that, then?
Their uniquely speckled coats look as though they've been randomly splashed with several colours of paint.
I'll have you know that each of these coats has been individually designed. I'll give you splashed.
It's true that each dog's markings are completely unique and give them great cover in their native plains and woodlands. They are often mistaken for hyenas, but they are only distantly related despite their similar looks. An easy way to tell them apart is by the hunting dog's much bigger round ears, which help them hear each other's calls up to 5 kilometres away. I can't quite make out what they're saying.
Jane is telling Jack where she buried the bone. Hang on. She says it's under the log behind the bush. Time for you to listen up, dudes. What other animals are African wild dogs mistaken for? A. Cheetahs. B. Hyenas. Or C. Lemurs. Don't get your tails in a twist. The answer is B. Hyenas. Well done if you got that right.
African wild dogs are carnivores. They hang out in packs of 6 to 20 and will hunt together for larger animals like zebras and antelope. They rarely get aggressive with each other, even at feeding time.
Excuse me. Will you be eating all of that?
Every last scrap.
Yes, of course. Very good.
For their size, their bite force is higher than any carnivore, including lions, tigers, and bears.
Oh, my.
That force enables them to crush bones and get the nutrition from inside.